What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We are back Saturday afternoon, 5 games. You got some football going on. Got a big UFC slate tonight, but continue taking advantage of the NBA streets. And let's talk through this 5-gamer. I say it every time. We're working on keeping these videos a little bit shorter, and today that definitely will be the case. 5 games. We have a couple of teams that we like to target from a fantasy perspective in the Hawks and the Wizards, but both have good teams and have potential blowout risks. We have a great game, in my opinion, between the Cavs and the T-Wolves. That will be kind of the games we're going to look to with some T-Wolves value, with some possible Cavs value, but 2 really good defensive teams that we don't want to target and we don't love targeting throughout the entire NBA season so far. Then we got some, different games that could either be really good for fantasy perspective or really bad in the Sixers-Pacers game and the Rockets-Trailblazers game. But before we get started and dive in, we are still using SHIP50. $50 off your first month of all access with the Shiptimizer. Guys, if you haven't already and you stumble upon this video on the YouTube algorithm, take advantage. I mean, the Shiptimizer, it makes everybody a better player, gives you way better chances to be able to take down some of these GPPs. And this also gets you access to the Discord, huge game changer to make you a better player and just to kind of bounce ideas off the walls with guys that, take DFS very seriously. Like I said, code SHIP50, take advantage and get in here. But let's keep this video short today. We're going to start with game 1 and probably the most interesting game on the slate with the Hawks at Boston. Celtics are favored by 10 and a 235.5 total. Zeller and Nance are out, including Ricochet, which could be important. Trey and Hunter look like they're going to be probable. They're going to be able to suit up and play today. And then the big kind of game-hinging news is the Jalen Johnson news. He is questionable. Horford and Porzingis from the Celtics side are both questionable. So kind of keep your eyes in Discord to see how we'll react to this game as we see some of these questionable tags. I believe all the questionable tags will play. The Jalen Johnson stuff, is easy for me. I believe the Hawks are priced accordingly. If Jalen Johnson does not play, if he does play, he is priced too much. And kind of takes me off of him and some other Hawks. We'll start with the Hawks side. This is a tougher matchup against the Celtics. Obviously, we like playing guys that play for the Atlanta Hawks because they go up and down and they offer us spike fantasy performances. But prices have really caught up. So Dyson Daniels at 7.4, that's just too much in a tough matchup versus Celtics for me. Kind of the same goes for Trey. If Jalen Johnson misses, it's a definite no. But even if he is back, I don't believe Jalen Johnson comes back into full minutes. I believe the Celtics will be able to key on him defensively, get the ball out of his hands. And, yes, he can, assist well when teams do double team him. But the Celtics have done a better job of taking away the catch and shoot. 10-1 on a slate where I could get other upside. The similar upside for a lesser price is where I'm going to go. Critchy's been playing well at 4,700. He would be the one guy that I would kind of target here. That's going to hinge on the Hunter stuff. I anticipate him playing as the probable tag is there, but I think at 4,700 in his production, I believe still, it's worth a look. And then the Capella Okongwu stuff. I believe both are going to be great plays. We talked about it all year. It's kind of a flip a coin. What guy do you want to go? I always lean on the Okongwu side. Most of the time his price is cheaper and he does offer a much higher upside. That's where I'll lean tonight, but don't hate either one of those guys there. Celtics perspective, I mean, all these guys are just too cheap for a matchup versus the Hawks. White, Holiday, Jaylen Brown at sub 10K, Porzingis still around that 7K marker. Even Peyton Pritchard, who hasn't he's played okay. I mean, we're so used to him having continual spike games in a row that when he has 130 out of the last 5, I believe it is, we get a little taken back and a little nervous. But 5K, great tag, possible blowout. He'll get the run late in the fourth quarter. So I don't even mind him. No Sam Hauser for me. The Horford stuff is interesting. If Porzingis or Horford were to miss, I'm going to extremely bump the guy that's playing, obviously. In a perfect world for me, I would like Porzingis to miss, Al Horford to slide in the starting lineup at 4,200. That would be a great start to lineups, in my opinion. But like I said, all these guys are too cheap for a matchup for the Hawks with a 122, almost 123 total. I'm good clicking everybody here. Jason Tatum will probably be, the top stud play on the slate, in my opinion. With blowout risk, it is 10. It's not like it's 15 or 13 and a half, which is what we'll see with the Warriors game. So I lean a little bit more on the Tatum stuff. But like I said, they're all great plays. And I'm hoping for Porzingis out, Horford slide in, 4,200 there. And I think that does bump Pritchard off of the bench. Moving on. Sixers and Pacers. Pacers are 9.5-point favorites with a 225 total. We'll start with the Sixers here on this side. My bad. Let's go over injuries first. Lowry, Embiid, and Caleb Martin are all out. Drummond is probable, and Paul George and Yabu are questionable. These are going to be very important to the slate. I anticipate Paul George and Yabu to play, so we'll start there. If that is the case, no Drummond at all. So if Yabu plays, I'm not on the Drummond stuff. I'll be on the Yabu stuff at 5,400. Not the best play when he's in the 5Ks, but he's obviously shown us a decent floor and good upside. The Paul George stuff, I mean, his prices creep back up. I think we saw him as low as 7,500. People took advantage of that. Now on the way back up, people are looking, as we have him at almost 30% ownership, looking to take advantage of a matchup versus the Pacers. If he does play, I'm knocking Maxey with a huge downgrade. I just don't like targeting Maxey with Paul George on the floor. They take away from each other, and that's not something I want to be a part of. Same goes for Kelly Oubre. Downgrade to him if Paul George does play, which is what I'm assuming here. If Paul George is out, bump Maxey, bump Kelly, bump Yabu. And those would be some of my favorite plays on the slate if Paul George was ruled out. If Yabu is out and Drummond has to make the start at 5K, don't love it. But, I think he'll get some steam, and I think he will be an important piece and kind of decision point on the slate. But I would play Drummond if Yabu is out. To the Pacers side, the Miles Turner stuff at 6K, I mean, when you see that price for him with a matchup with either Yabu or Drummond, I think he does get a bump if Yabu is out, but still a fantastic matchup in my opinion. He's going to really extend the floor. Obviously has 3-point shooting range, so I'm going to bump him as my favorite play for the Pacers side. And then everybody else aside, well, let's do primary play and then kind of a secondary primary play in Siakam. This is more just a price thing. I mean, at 7,500, he continues to offer us the potential upside at that price tag. With a decent matchup, in my opinion. I don't know how these Sixers are going to be able to guard both Siakam and Turner, especially if Yabu and Paul George were to miss. So I'm on the Siakam stuff at 75. I'm going to keep playing him, and I'm going to keep taking advantage of a price tag that should be 8K. No Halliburton for me today, and the same goes for Nembhard and Nesmith. I mean, this is a little bit of a tougher matchup for the guards. Yes, I know we have a team total of 117, but this isn't a place that I want to go. When we get down a couple games from now, we'll talk about values in the same range that, yes, will be popular, but I believe are much better plays. Yeah, pretty much it. Love Siakam, love Turner, and then for the Sixers side, it's just going to be a mix and match based off who's out. Paul George and Yabu are in. It really just becomes, Yabu and maybe Paul George. If Paul George is out, huge upgrade to Maxey and Kelly. If Yabu's out, bump Drummond. And that's where we stand on this game. Moving on to Wizards and Warriors with a very interesting game here. The spread being 13.5, obviously in favor of the Warriors, with a game total of almost 230, 229 and 3/4. So we'll call it 230. It's obvious that we're going to take everybody from the Warriors lineup and give them a bump with the matchup for the with the Wizards. Steph at under 9K in a great spot, up and down kind of game. This is going to be a spot where I know he'll produce. The question is of how many minutes he'll get. It's tough to say because like the real decision so far for me this afternoon has been Curry or Anthony Edwards. And they're on two completely different spectrums because you get one of the worst defensive teams in the league for Curry and one of the best defensive teams in the league for the Cavs. Right now, I'm going the Ant stuff over Curry. So where we'll stand right now is I'll rank my Warriors. Trace Jackson Davis at 5,500 with Wiggins at a 58 tag. I think if this game profiles well for him, and if this game was to get out of hand, he would be one of the guys that stays on the floor a little bit longer than a Curry and a Draymond, even a Schroeder, in my opinion. Draymond at 5,700, versus old, punching bag and Jordan Poole. We always talk about him, getting up for certain games. This might be a game he gets up for. And at 5,700, with the potential of blocks and steals and kind of up and down, increased rebounding chances, I'm going to like Draymond here at 5,700 if he does play, but we have him listed as probable, so I anticipate him to play. Like I said, I like the Trace Jackson Davis stuff, but what I think I like a little bit more is the Kevin Looney stuff at 31. He's been playing great. He's getting a bump in minutes. He'll get some of this blowout run in the second half if this game does get out of hand early. We know that he can produce as he's, the second most productive fantasy point per minute producer on his team, following Curry at 1.15. So I really like the Looney stuff at 3,100. I will be playing him in hopes that this game gets out of hand very early and that we could see him get like 20 minutes. And at 20 minutes, we know he has 30, 35 point upside. And then to round it out, then I'll go Curry. Then I'll go the Buddy stuff off the bench. You could make the argument, Buddy will get some run if this game does get out of hand. But it's really tough to say this early in the afternoon and to commit to a stance there. For the Wizard sides, no thank you on any of these guys. I mean, you could make a case for Sarr at 56. You could make a case for Jordan Poole at 76, even a Bub Carrington at 45. But the Warriors is a tough matchup. And, I think that there's potential for them to go small in this game. If that's the case, this isn't a good spot for Sarr. This isn't a good spot for Kyle Kuzma, even Coulibaly. So as of right now, the way that it'll stand is I have no Wizards exposure. And I assume that will stay true until we get to first tip. If you have any questions about that, reach out to me in the Discord. But I mean, even a Joe Val off the bench at 5K, no thanks. I mean, I have no problem ever clicking his name, but I don't think there's very much upside at all for any of these guys here. Even the Jordan Poole stuff at 7,600. I mean, I don't want to step into this game rostering him at double-digit ownership, thinking, okay, well, now he needs to score 40, 45 fantasy points for this to be productive. So we're just going to move on here with 2 games left on the slate. So this is where we're going to get the majority of the value today. Cavs at T-Wolves. Cavs are 6-point favorites with a 226.5 total. Dante DiVincenzo is out for the T-Wolves on one side, and then Okaro and Mobley are both questionable. I'm anticipating at least Mobley missing this game just because it's 6-point spread. I think if he was to play, that spread would be a little bit bigger. But as of now, I anticipate him out. We'll talk through both outcomes, in or out. Like I said, all the value here on the entire slate is coming from this Timberwolves side. And I'll keep it a little bit shorter here. I think Ant is continuing to show us his old self, and I'm going to want to roster him as much as physically possible. He's going to be one of my favorite plays on the slate. I think it's going to go Tatum as the top play, followed by Anthony Edwards. That may change up to slate plan and up to lock, but that's where I'm standing now. I want to play him. Once he made the decision he wasn't going to pass anymore, fantasy production has gone through the roof. So we're going to continue to circle him. He's a great play every night. I don't care. He's matchup proof. I don't care if this is a tough matchup versus the Cavs. Also, another note, that's very interesting, is that we have a 110-point team total here versus the Cavs. So I'm proceeding this game to be just like a normal NBA matchup. Obviously, we're going to bump Conley at 3,400 with no DiVincenzo. But I think the real winner here is going to be NAW at 3,200 off of the bench. He's going to see blowout run if the Cavs were to take advantage and play well in this game. And I think he gets some important run if this game does stay close. 3,200, obvious to have the upside. I think we get mid-20s minutes out of him. And if that's the case, we're looking at a projection somewhere between 20 and 30 DraftKings points if he plays well. And at 3,200, that is an absolute smash. Gobert at 5,200, I'm going to keep taking advantage of a tag that is this low. Bump his matchup even more as Mobley is out. Really like him. And, I think the last guy that I'll mention here is Naz Reid at 48. Price, has continued to stay below the 5K marker. The reason why I'm kind of hesitant here is because we're getting a guy off of the bench at almost 25% ownership, which would be a quarter of the field with a tough matchup versus the Cavs. I think that's where we'll kind of draw the line. I am not playing Julius Randle at 72 in this matchup, but Naz Reid is really going to make me think. He also would get a little bit of run if the Cavs took advantage in this game. But if the Cavs were to take advantage, there's not great fantasy production from the Wolves side. So that's kind of how I'll leave it. But, the Conley and NAW, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, those guys are all going to be popular in some of the slate's top values. Jumping over to the Cavs side, if Mobley plays, I don't really have interest in anybody here. The T-Wolves have been great defensively this season. And I think, if Mobley was to play and the line doesn't move, this is some great respect for the Wolves defense, showing only 6-point favorites for the Cavs. So yes, the typical stuff, 1 of 2 between Mitchell and Garland. Those prices have come real close together than what we've seen to start the season. So I think in this particular situation, I think we could attack Mitchell at 81 over Garland, as the field is going to gravitate more toward Garland since his recent upside kind of showcased over the last week or so. Same kind of goes for the Mobley Allen stuff. Allen has shown some upside. Mobley kind of burned some people over the last few nights. Mobley is questionable. That's why we're showing much more ownership to Allen. I would agree with this side of the ownership, though. 6,600 in a matchup he could take advantage of Rudy Gobert and or Naz Reid. Maybe Julius Randle if they decide to run it that way. I think this would be a good spot for him at 6,600. That's kind of where I stand. I don't want to get cute with guys off the bench here for the Cavs, at least as of now. All right, last game of the night. Rockets and Blazers. Rockets are 11.5-point favorites, 223 total. Start with the Rockets side here. Injury stuff. Grant questionable, Avdia doubtful, and Klingon out. When we get to the Blazers side, that is important. So we'll touch on that stuff. Common theme for the last couple weeks, Rockets have been underpriced. Guys like Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, they've been underpriced. That is not the case anymore. We're seeing almost 8K for Fred VanVleet. We're seeing 8,400 for Amen Thompson. Jalen Green getting up there around the 8Ks as well. Really going to help me, take a back seat here. I will be targeting the mid-price stuff here from the Rockets side against the Blazers. I believe this is a game the Rockets do blow out the Blazers. 11.5, obviously is in the middle. It's better than, 13.5 if you anticipate this game to stay close. But I think this is a game that the Rockets could take full advantage And that's why I really like the Rockets to win this game by 20, 25 points. If that's the case, I don't want to get stuck playing $8,400 Amen Thompson. Yes, he is playing in blowouts, and if this game blew out, he'd be a huge part of it. His stocks are off the charts, but I think this is kind of the price that I start to kind of step away. At 8,400, we're going to need at least mid-40s and in the 50s for upside. And this might be kind of tough in a potential blowout. Same goes for Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. If you guys were low 7Ks, which is what we've been accustomed to over the last few weeks, then I'd be all over it. But these top three players here in the starting lineup in Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, and Jalen Green are going to be tough to beat in this potential blowout. Yes, great matchup, but potential blowout risk and not seeing that last 6, 7, 8 minutes of runtime is going to be, you make me very worried. So I'm going to be off that. The Şengün stuff, 9,100. I mean, this is where we'll kind of stop and think. I mean, this is going to be like the 5th or 4th highest priced guy on the slate when we break it down in terms of an entire slate. So I don't think I'm going to get there, especially if the field is going to be 13%. I believe this is a matchup, though, that he can certainly take advantage, especially like if Grant misses, and it's just Ayton and the Time Lord off the bench. Really interesting there. But common theme, I mean, it's going to be tough with a potential 3-quarter game here for the Rockets. So final rankings here, it's going to be Dillon Brooks getting full run at 4,900 and taking advantage of stocks. He'll be my favorite player, and just because of price from the Rockets starting lineup. And then keep it simple, just Cam Whitmore off the bench, 4K. This is a guy that, has been producing well in close games. Obviously not closing games, but in close games. But like I said, with the theme of them winning by 2025, we could see him getting the last 8-9 minutes of run in this game in an up and down spot at 4K, where we know in blowouts, not only does he play, but he takes full advantage and shoots the rock. I'm going to bump him there. And then if this game does stay close, it's going to be Şengün, Jalen Green, and then Thompson for me. And I'm off Fred VanVleet. Jumping over to the Blazers side, with Klingon out, it's going to bring Robert Williams at 3,200 back into play. Great fantasy point per minute producer at 3,200. Interesting avenue to kind of take to kind of get off of a Mike Conley or an NAW around the similar price tag. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm going to like that at 3,200 over a very popular Mike Conley and a very popular NAW. So he'll probably be my favorite play on the Blazers side, followed by Simons at 6,700. Guy's been hooping. Yes, tougher matchup with the Rockets, but 6,700, he offers us some upside at that tag if he does get hot. I mean, if Grant was to miss, I think, I think that's going to help Robert Williams a little bit more. It's tough to say right now, but with Avdia missing and Grant missing, obviously bump Sharp, Kamara, Scoot off the bench, who's been playing awesome at 6K, but I think I might, be off these guys in a tough matchup with the Rockets as of now, 4 hours to tip or 4 hours to the start of the slate, and just bump Robert Williams and then Banton at 3,700. But that's kind of where I stand. I don't want any of the 8 and stuff at 6,100, especially at double-digit ownership. But this is kind of a wait-and-see approach. I'm going to leave a few slots in my lineup if the slate started right now, to kind of be able to late swap into some of this stuff. But with Avdia out, the potential of Grant, I don't think this is a really good spot for the Blazers. All right, guys. Hey, 5 games. Appreciate you guys tuning in and watching it. We're keeping it under the 30-minute mark, which I'm happy about. If you are a member here at SHIPIT Nation, I am jumping over now to finalize the slate plan. Obviously, have our course posted as it is Saturday, and we got juicy 5 games here. But we're enjoy the football games, enjoy making lineups during that. I mean, cherish every football game we have left. because it's just going to be gone, and it's going to be the middle of April, and we're going to be watching baseball, which obviously baseball is fun to wager on and get some lineups made. But it's nothing like NFL football. We're going to be counting down days, doing best ball drafts very early. Appreciate you guys once again. Any questions to be up in the Discord? Good luck tonight, and let's ship it.